there, which is the main avenue, no? Yan, binibenta nila, bangketa. Doon talaga bastusan na. Today, wala, meron pa rin. Siyempre, because counterfeit always finds its way. Pero nakakatawa, habang naglalakad ka, biglang, bubulong na lang sa tenga mo, Cartier, Cartier, Rolex, Rolex. Gagawa ka, naglalakad ka na. Oh, patago na. But of course, they're still trying their best. But that's why Hong Kong was taken out of that list. Now, if we want our country to improve economically and to protect our products, our brands, we likewise have to do the same with their brands and their products. We too have to protect
Reciprocity.
them. Reciprocity.
Kumbaga.
So the problem, I guess, here is also on the implementation, which people, that's why they call your show so many times. Yung mga callers come in and they're bitching about Y6 once. It's always the same case. Green Hills, 168, Makati Cinema Square. Itong tatlo nito, I mean,
notorious.
Notorious.
Hotspots, piracy hotspots.
Dapat siyang habulin yung mga landlords dyan because they are the cause for the commercialization or the downgrading of commercialization. They're the cause of people losing their jobs, and people don't really realize this. In Super Brands, we're very adamant about that. We don't allow pag hindi ka registrado, and while you're registered, we do our best to protect you. And the only way brands can be protected in this country or anywhere around the world, from what I understand now, it's really intellectual property.
Yes, it's by registration.
This is the new thing. This is the new thing in the block now. Because look at America, they've progressed so much. Their consumer society and everything has improved so much so that hindi na rin sila blue collar. Hindi lang white collar na. I mean, talagang they're into innovative softwares, di ba? They have new techniques, movies.
So, the music industry in the United States,
it's such a big part.
Yes.
It's such a big industry. And that by itself, the only way to protect that is really intellectual property because it's intellectual property as it is. Nothing more, di ba?
It's property. So, kailangan talaga, yun nga, sasabi mo kanina, the only way to register a brand o to own a brand is by registration. Parang lupa ho yan. Kailangan mong titulahan through Intellectual Property Office. At syempre, ikaw din ang magpupulis. Kung halimbawa, kung ikaw yung Louis Vuitton, di ba? Tapos, parang kalat na kalat po siya, na fake, ganyan. Kung ako, Filipino brand ako, Zara, ganyan. Nag-create ako ng bags na Zara. Tapos, kinokopya lang ng mga fake. Syempre, madidishearten ako bilang negosyante. Ba't ako magbebenta, malulugi din ako sa mga fake.
Kung kopyahin natin bench, kung kopyahin natin pancake, lahat ng mga restaurants, gawin natin pancake house. Di ba? Kung kopyahin natin,
diba?
Yung Rusty Lopez, ang tagal na yan sa industriya. Gagamitin mo yung tatak, gagawa ka ng bago. Hindi ka ba maiinis? What if you were Rusty Lopez? What if you own that brand? So, if we want our country to progress economically, we have to go by the rules, international rules to. And the only way is to protect each other's brands and purchases, di ba?
Tsaka parang basic respect yan para sa isa't isa, di ba? Kailangan nating, kumbaga, kung nire-respect natin sila, kailangan respect din nila tayo. So, reciprocity yan pagdating sa implementation. Kaya lang kailangan siguro maunawaan din ng mga tao, ng mga televiewers natin, what's in it for you? Diba?
Yun, maintindihan nila.
What's in it for you?
Yes.
Pangalawa, hindi ba pwedeng babaan na lang yung presyo ng mga original? Mayroon na hong nagsabi sa atin na televiewer niyan. Bakit kasi ang mahal-mahal ng mga original? At tatalakayin po natin yan after the break. Kung talaga bang price ba ang consideration, bakit tayo tumatangkilik ng mga fakes at mga pirated na mga produkto? Tapos, lastly, ano pa ba yung, kumbaga, ano ba magiging effect kung kinansela natin ang US visa ng mall owners at ang business permit
Tama
nila?
yun.
Diba?
Sa dami nilang pera, halos nilalakaw na rin nila. Pagbawalan natin sila bumiyahe.
Okay, so sa lahat po yan tatalakayin natin sa pagbabalik ng intellectual property.
Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts. Respect them. They help shape our world. Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment. Making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts. Respect them. They help shape our world.
Yan. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Intellectual Property, where we're talking about the Philippine status in the U.S. Piracy Watch List. This watch list consists of countries all over the world that the U.S. closely monitors for copyright violations, specifically music and film violations. So ngayon po, I have Mr. Harry Tambuatco of Superbrands to give us the view of the private sector, no? Kasi baka iniisip ng mga, para to balance me out, because I'm presenting the view of the Philippine Intellectual Property Office on the enforcement matter, and they're really doing their best para po mapanatili ko, if not tanggalin ang Pilipinas sa watch list na ito for the good of the nation, economically, di ba? And diplomatically.
Attorney, that's right. The view on my side when it comes to branding and on behalf of Superbrands, with my communications with the other countries on Superbrands, we have all taken a very strong stand to protect the brands that join our program. What does that mean? There is no other way that we can help protect our clients or the brands that co-brand using our award seal. You see, the only way that they can be protected or we be protected of them, di ba? Kasi they are brands, mamaya fake mga pumapasok, di ba? You see, there was one instance, and it was really entirely my fault. There was a promising brand. I should have named it Future Brand, but it was Superbrand. And it performed so well in the market, and it was there for 4 years, and it was selling very well. And the advertising marketing budget, whether it be traditional or below the line, was very impressive. So I allowed him into the program only to find out that he could not use the brand title, the trade name, diba? And so trademarks. It was embarrassing for me against.
He couldn't use it, the trademark, because it's not registrable. It's not registered.
Yeah, it's not registrable. May problema pala. Of course, there are specific rules with intellectual property I was not aware of. It's my ignorance that allowed him to come in, which is why it's important that you have this show on a regular basis para matuto naman ang viewers what exactly the role of intellectual property. If you do not register and you do not certify your brand as a registered brand, madaling nakawin sa iyo ito. And there is no legal procedure that can help you identify that specific brand name is really yours and nobody else's.
Unless you're registered with the
Unless,
IPO.
yes, with IPO. Because a lot of people realize, well, I'm one of those that were very ignorant about it, and I've been an entrepreneur for close to 28 years. Kasi sa Pilipinas, maybe it's also the fault of government or our system or our policy.
Nagkulang sa outreach.
Yes,
siguro.
it's also DTI, Department of Trade and Industry. When you're an entrepreneur, pupunta ka sa DTI, magre-rehistro ka ng trade name mo. Kasi if you don't register, hindi ka pwede pumunta sa City Hall at kumuha ng mayor's permit. Hindi ka pwede kumuha ng occupancy permit, food and sanitation, fire, lahat. Ang unang hihingiin sa'yo, registration of trade name. Now, pag partnership ka at corporation, you go to the SEC. The SEC will now file your name and approve you, and then meron pa silang, hindi pwede itong pangalan nito, hindi pwede ito, hindi pwede ito. So, I guess as an entrepreneur or a corporation, iniisip mo, since ina-assess na nila yung pangalan ng kumpanya or ang pangalan ng entrepreneur, okay na yan, registrado na yan.
Ikaw na may-ari nun.
Not realizing that there's a big, there's ignorance of intellectual property, which is naiiba. And yet, IP is under DTI. And the SEC is under the DTI, di ba? Under Trade and Industry yan eh. So, commission, independent commission ng SEC. But it doesn't make sense. Maybe there's also a lack of legislation that needs to be addressed in both the registration process of intellectual property to protect the businessman, the entrepreneurs. Alam mo, we have what, 80-90% SMEs in the Philippines. The big boys are the big boys. The SMs and the San Miguels, they're the big boys. Okay yan.
Pero rehistrado yun.
Oh, of course.
Kasi protektado sila. They know.
Most especially because they go abroad, di ba?
Yeah,
especially a company, a biggest brand, the most successful international brand, or what I would call a global brand, in this country, I would only say it's only one, and that's San Miguel.
Yeah, pero for the remaining 80% of
Oh,
those businesses,
puro
they don't
SMEs.
know about
They
trademark
don't know. Yan ang
registration.
problema. And that's when I realized this. Now, as much as here in Super Brands we register the big names, we also register successful SMEs who are growing. You remember, Jollibee was just an SME at one time. Di ba? At one point. So are these chains of restaurants now, yung mga like Pancake House, Dencios. They were only one at one point when they first started, you know. I hope they're registered for their sake. I remember brands in the Philippines, yung bata pa ako, mga Antibay brands, Best Man pantalon. I remember Antibay shoes, no? In Escolta, may mga sapatos doon when I was in grade school.
Oh, pero ganito, if you can, negosyante ka, di ba? You want to keep on doing business, you don't want to register your trademark o yung tatak
Pwede
mo.
naman eh.
Pwede naman. Kaso,
Pag
anyone
inagaw
can
sa'yo
copy
pangalan,
it. O,
yan.
pag inagaw sa'yo, may nauna nagrehistro, wala kang laban.
Yun ang
Wala kang laban. So, kailangan patitulahan mo talaga sa intellectual
mawawala ang
office yung tatak.
mawawala yung pangalan mo, yung goodwill mo na nakawin
At
talaga
saka
ng
hindi
iba.
ka rin makakalaban dun sa mga nanggagaya sa'yo.
Yung
Kasi
anong problema.
hindi ka rehistrado eh. Wala kang proof na ikaw yung may-ari. Nung
So there's no
intellectual
such thing as
property na yun.
counterfeit.
Oo, wala.
They can
Ay,
duplicate your product with your name and your brand.
Kung hindi ka rehistrado.
Kung hindi ka
So,
rehistrado.
yun yung watch out mo. Kailangan kung negosyante ka, rehistrado ka. Dahil yun na yung pruweba mo eh, na ikaw yung may-ari ng brand. Katulad yung mga active ngayon sa pagpupuli, sa mga pagre-raid, no? Louis Vuitton, Sanok, Breitling, ayan. Kasi rehistrado sila. So, alam ko, mga foreign brands to. At paano naman yung Filipino brands, di ba? Let's work at it in reverse. Kinopya abroad. 'Di ba? Paano nating i-enforce yung rights na 'yon kung dito pala hindi rehistrado?
Hindi, yun.
So, mapapahiya lang tayo na we'll go after this person, this pirate, na hindi naman pala rehistrado. Although, in principle, may laban. Nangongopya eh. Yung pangongopya, ano talaga 'yon? Bad manners. Tapos, yung extreme circumstances, isa siyang criminal offense. So, kailangan talaga na i-prosecute yung mga namimirata din or yung nag-fake. Pero, yung minsan nga may tumawag sa radio show. At sinasuggest niya na kasi unang-una accessible yung mga pirated goods, yung mga fake branded goods, mga
Open na
t-shirts.
open eh.
Oo, kahit saan pwede kang accessible, madali silang makita, 'di ba? Pangalawa, mura. Inexpensive, affordable, and after all, disposable naman, so you don't really care for the quality. Tapos, pangatlo, madali daw palitan. So, may customer service pang involved itong mga counterfeit sellers na to. And it is a consideration, no? It's possible, personally, market forces are at play. So, kung may competition ako yung original singer, di ba? Tapos, ito yung seller na mas mura niyang binibenta yung produkto niya, tendency, ibababa ko talaga yung presyo ko. Tatry ko ibaba to compete, di ba? So,
demand yan eh. It's called availability, price, and demand. It's the different thing is, ako, ang payo ko sa viewers, no? While we accede to branding or buying these products, these fake products, really, I think the come on is affordability, presyo eh. You know, you want to buy a pair of pants na moong, ito may pangalan Marlboro. Kung walang pangalan, magkano lang? You know, if we buy, kung ginagawa lang dito, ang suggestion ko sa mga manufacturers, my gosh, learn how to brand so at least as you're improving your product, pwede, di ba? Get into the brandings, you will become more successful in your manufacture and in your trade. To protect your brand, you, of course, register with IPO. But if you don't brand it ahead of time, wala rin mangyayari sa'yo. Now, if these products, these branded products that are counterfeit and they're being sold in the market, like in these
Changi,
Changi, which is terrible, which is really terrible. Dapat yan hulihin kasi smuggled yan. Pag imported yan, di ba na, mas lalo na galing, we all know, 90% come from China, di ba? And they are, they're imported. You see, there was that story I said before, no? When I was a kid, made in Japan was really poor quality. When Japan started branding, nangyari, it took them 10 years. They got out of it. When they started branding, boom, naging first world economy sila. The El Cheapo manufacturing products went to Taiwan. Then everybody, I was already in my teens, and then it was made in Taiwan, was really poor stuff. Pero mura. Taiwan, it only took them 8 years. But okay, 8 years lang. They stopped it. They started branding. Ergo, boom, naging global economy sila. Now, they're even lenders in the world.